Joining us today on Pirate Radio Live, it's Tuesday. That means Mack McCarthy is here. Coach Mack, how you doing, man?
I am good. Hope you're feeling better.
I'm good to go. What a weekend we're coming off in college football. Rivalry week plus the drama with the college football playoff, and it created some good games, created a lot of fighting, flag planting trend that went on around college football. So Mac, I don't even know where to begin. I'll ask you about the extracurricular stuff we saw in Michigan, Ohio State, North Carolina, NC State, Florida, Florida State, Arizona, Arizona State, BYU and Houston were fighting. I don't even think they're rivals. They are both Cougars. Maybe it's the Cougar Bowl. But man, there was a lot of fighting going on.
Yeah, and I don't get all that. The flag planting. I act like you've been there. I thought Sarkeesian handled it better than anybody. He told his guys, "We're not doing that." They were out there ready to do it, and I thought he handled it better than some of the others. But on the other hand, you get your butt beat, especially you get your butt beat at home. You just need to go on to the locker room. Let the winners do what they need to do. But it doesn't make sense on the artificial turf. You can't plant a flag for sure, and the others you can fix that. So, but I thought Sarkeesian handled it better than anybody. He told his guys, "We're not planting any flags. We're going to kick their butt and get back on the bus."
Yeah, that will probably be the move going forward, I would imagine. Mac McCarthy joining us. As far as on the field goes, man, Ryan Day wins a ton of games. He just can't win that one particular game, and it could cost him. But that was pretty pitiful on Saturday. Michigan unable to do anything on offense and to win that game. I mean, that is what an indictment on Ryan Day. And what now the good thing for them is they'll be in the playoff. They'll have a chance at redemption, but. I didn't think they'd cover the 20 whatever, but I did think they'd at least come out with a win there. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, I kind of was the same way. That's a lot of points in a rivalry game, and Michigan is decent defensively, and the way they play offense, they're not going to be a ton of possessions. So, the line probably was a little bit high. But that being said, they needed to take care of business, and they didn't, and they've done it so well against everybody in that league. They have one other league loss in all his time there, and that was at Oregon by a point or whatever it was. And it's really hard to say this guy needs to go, but at the same time, you lose four in a row, and he's lost to a bad Michigan team, a pretty good Michigan team, a really good Michigan team, and now another bad Michigan team. 4 straight years. It's pretty inexplicable, and I think this thing gets to be psychological, and it goes both ways. I'm kind of part of another rivalry with Virginia and Virginia Tech, where Virginia, they don't even think they can win anymore. They've gotten boat raced by a mediocre Virginia Tech team the last couple years, 2, 3, 4 years in a row, or whatever it is, it's just sooner or later you do think it's between the ears instead of how much talent you have.
Man, I took a lot of dogs on a rivalry weekend, but I looked at that Virginia Tech line for 20 straight minutes and said the Hokies are going to win this, and I didn't do anything with it, but Hokies certainly took care of business over the weekend. Mac, man, I played some great coach audio on the show yesterday. Had some great press conferences. James Franklin and his explanation on why they were scoring at the end of that game against Maryland was one of the most succinct, correct things I've ever heard a coach say. He talked about how Maryland was playing defense, his threes and fours were in the game, and something you brought up. Style points are back. Spurrier running up the score is back. You want to put your best foot forward for the committee. And I thought it was good. James Franklin came out and said that. But you had those comments, and then I love too what the Texas Tech coach had to say. And you were at Auburn, but even you said you've got a little, SEC. You're tired of all the SEC talk, and the way he explained it with an American team potentially winning the ACC, a Pac-12 team winning the Big Ten this year, and he went on down the list. about biases and things like that. I found that interesting. Two very, I thought, great post game press conferences by Joey McGuire and James Franklin.
Yeah, we had this discussion early on, and who might be the one new team in a new league to
Yeah,
win, and it turns out it might be all four of them. It
right.
might be all four new teams in the new leagues to win, which I don't think anybody would have predicted that. But Oregon had a good chance. We talked about that, but nobody thought SMU had a chance. Nobody thought Arizona State had a chance
No.
to win anything.
I
And
didn't know they
Texas
were
got
good, Mac, until like 2 weeks ago. I looked up and
no.
they were 7-2. I'm like, what is this right? So, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
they got off to a good start, but you still didn't think they were good until down the stretch. They just kept on winning, and the other team in the state out there was supposed to be the one that might win the league, and they flip flopped. What a crazy time in college football all the way around.
So, what are we keeping an eye on this weekend, Mac, as far as the championships go? What's the most intriguing matchup when it comes to the playoff? With Clemson, SMU, and does that loser, if SMU loses, do they get in? Big Ten, can Oregon run the table? What if Penn State wins? Where are they seated? Certainly they'll be ahead of Oregon, I guess. So they would, or would they? How much stock does the committee put into these championship games? We'll find out next week.
Well, we have found out what we've been saying. The championship games are basically superfluous. We don't need them. They're just going to cause more confusion. But I think they're all kind of intriguing. Penn State is not going to win. They never win a big game. Clemson, Texas. I mean, Georgia, Texas is probably the most intriguing one, and that's only about seeding. That's not
Right.
about anything else. Clemson, that's a big game because for the ACC, if Clemson can win, SMU I think does get in. So the ACC might get two that way. They might only get one the other way because all those three-loss SEC teams will probably be ranked ahead of Miami when it comes out tonight. And then I don't know that it even matters whether it's Arizona State or Iowa State, and I'm not sure anybody outside of the commissioner's office, your Mark's office, even really cares.
If Boise State wins, does it matter who wins between Iowa State and Arizona State? Do you think Boise State gets that number 4 in that bye? Will they be ranked ahead of the Big 12?
I don't think they'd be ranked ahead of Arizona State. I think they might be ranked ahead of Iowa State, but it's really gonna. That might be the most interesting part of this. Is
Yeah.
does the committee give the group of five champion any love at all?
And I guess we're going to avoid the catastrophe of the Big 12 missing out completely, right? Arizona State
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Iowa State will be in the winner of
Yeah,
that game.
nobody else. I mean, if Tulane had won, that would have still been a possibility, maybe. But them losing to Memphis kind of took care of that, didn't it?
All right, man, what a fun weekend of college football and a fun season, and we're still talking about it, and we'll have another week of this mess talking about it, and before we finally come out with the college football playoff and the seedings and everything, and I'm excited about it, Mac. I think we've talked about it. This has been one of the most entertaining and intriguing college football seasons in a long time.
It has, and something that we've talked about, fairly often the last couple of years is the bowl games. The obviously the teams that are in a bowl game are excited about playing in that bowl game for the most part. Now there might be some individuals that aren't, and there might be some people that are disappointed that they're even in a bowl game because they're not in the college football playoff, like maybe an Ole Miss or someone like that. But I'll give you an example of how irrelevant it is becoming. The other show that I do in Chattanooga, we've picked every game. We pick 6 games a week. We've always done all the bowl games. Well, this year we're not doing any bowl games. We're only picking the college football playoff
Wow.
because of opt-outs and
Yeah.
because of just general interest. I mean, there's no reason for us to spend any time talking about those games because, yeah, those fan bases are excited about it, and it's a little bit of a bragging right, a little bit of a recruiting tool. You get the extra practices. It's significant to the teams that are going, but to the general public, all the focus is going to be on the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, outside of like gambling and bowl pools, I have no interest in the games themselves. And sometimes I kind of whisper about my lack of interest in bowl games because we do have a lot of players rolling in here, and they certainly care about those games.
Sure,
But even
sure.
Alex Harper, it's all about what matters to us personally. Because Alex Harper, we were asking him yesterday, so where do you want to go? He didn't care about the matchup. He didn't care about the prestige of the bowl. He wants to go south. He wants to go to Florida. He'll
Yeah.
settle for Myrtle Beach, but keep him out of Fenway. He doesn't want to go to the Military Bowl. He just wants some good weather. So, everybody's got their own kind of selfish reasons for liking or disliking a bowl.
Sure, and at this point, East Carolina, like Virginia Tech, like maybe NC State. I mean, there are a lot of schools just happy to be going to a bowl because at times this year it didn't look like they might.
100%. But yeah, you can put us in that boat, definitely. Mack McCarthy joining us. We're following, of course, the season still, but you've got the portal now and also the coaching carousel. And there's a lot of hires to be made right here in the state of North Carolina. East Carolina made theirs with Blake Harrell, but you got Charlotte, you got App, and then North Carolina. I thought this was one of those situations where they let old Mack decide when he wants to go, but no, Bubba Cunningham in North Carolina says you are leaving. Would you like to do it on your own accord or ours? And he chose. He said you gotta get rid of me. So how about that, Coach Mack? North Carolina looking for a new head coach.
Yeah, and we didn't get to talk about this because I guess it happened, after we had talked last week. But it was a bad look. It would have been better for everybody had it gone smoothly, and they allowed him to retire gracefully. And I guess it had something to do with the timing and that kind of thing. I'm sure the $3 million a year for 3 years didn't have anything to do with it. I wish it had gone better because he is a guy that's well respected and a little bit of bad look for North Carolina. But on the other hand, I think they had to do it. This is a tenuous time. We don't know what's going to happen with the expansion and leagues going forward. And you better be good in football, or you better at least look like you could be good in football. And right now, North Carolina does not.
That kind of reminds me, Mag, of what we talk about when we're not in season. And I haven't thought about this at all with all the great games and stuff going on. But are we going to have another off season of like Florida State flirting with other conferences, Clemson, North Carolina? Like, is that still a thing? I guess it is, right? Like, it's not going to go away.
I guess, but it's hard to talk about your value when you have the kind of season that Florida State has
Good
had.
point. Yeah.
I think they would get laughed out of a lot of situations, but the lawyers will still make their money and they'll still make their points. But I would like to see things just settle down for a little bit and let's see how this goes. But we know that's not possible because they're already talking about changing the college football playoff because this contract is only this year and next year.
I was going to ask you about that, Mac. At what point do we see the new format? Do they're going to let this one play out? I guess. Do you think we know something before next season, or when do they decide on the new structure for this playoff after 2026 or the 2025 season?
Yeah, I think we'll know before next year. I think we're committed to this thing for this year and next year, but I think it's already been drawn up. I think they have a good idea. I don't know if that's 14 or 16, but and I don't know how many guaranteed spots there'll be, but it's definitely going to be different in 2 years. There's not even a question about it.
Yep, for at least one more year, East Carolina will have some access to that thing. Beyond that, we don't know. And if Boise State, if a group of five gets that first round bye, I think we'll certainly see changes for that to never happen again.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of whoops. We didn't mean it. We didn't mean that.
All right, good stuff with college football, Coach Mack. Big one tonight in Minges. Always a fun game. East Carolina, UNCW. From the Mack era, I remember watching a game at the second Bowley's location, Bowley's on the Boulevard. It was ECU at UNCW, and it was not the best video feed. We take for granted the great ESPN Plus and being on TV all the time now. But I remember James Legan hitting multiple threes where you couldn't even see him on the screen, and so he was shooting them deep. And you guys put up quite a show that night in Wilmington. But that's a fun game, right? And should be a fun one tonight at Minji's.
Yeah, it is. The fan bases kind of take that seriously. The ones who like basketball, and of course at Wilmington, that's their main thing, along with baseball, I guess. But yeah, we played great. We went down there and we pulled a Lincoln Riley. We just decided we were going to outscore them. We didn't play a lot of defense, but it was extremely exciting. And Legan and Hennett and Brock Young, they all played great basketball. It was fun.
That was a good one, yeah. The bombs away. I think y'all might have scored in the 90s that night
We
on the
did.
road, yeah, in
We did.
Wilmington in a victory. And Pirates are a favorite tonight. I'm a little surprised by that. We'll get the word from Brant Wilkerson from the UNCW side of things as to why ECU might be a favorite tonight. But looking forward to that. And Danny just said, "Hey, have you looked at the schedule for college basketball tomorrow night?" A ton of
Yeah.
top 10, top 20. There's some good games tonight, too. Looking forward to after East Carolina. I'll head home and watch Kentucky and Clemson. So you got ACC, SEC. You got some other conference showdowns going on. So pretty good time. Like Feast Week's a lot of fun. But, man, we got some incredible matchups coming up this week.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good early season matchups, but tomorrow night is probably the best of any night so far this season, and there'll be some bragging rights out there, and of course we'll start getting into conference play because with these bigger conference, almost every conference has some regular season games in the next week.
Yeah, I saw some of those on the slate as well. Danny Hurley's somewhere cussing right now, Coach. His team went out to Hawaii and lost everything. That was pretty shocking. Good for Memphis to put up a good showing out there for the American, but man, not used to seeing UConn lose like that.
No, but things come full circle, and karma will bite you in the backside too. But yeah, he complained about that, and not only lose back to back, but lose back to back to back. I don't. Nobody in the world would have taken that bet.
And other than losing and being sour, what was his reasoning for saying who he's not going to do any more of those tournaments?
I don't know. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah,
It
just
made no sense.
just wanted to complain. He enjoys complaining. It looks like.
You know
Uh,
how coaches are.
I do. I don't know, Mac. It's funny just knowing you off the court way more than I do on the court. Like I see these coaches going crazy and cussing out folks. I just can't imagine you doing that, but I know you did it. I'm sure you did in your day.
No radio guys, though. No radio guys.
Mac McCarthy joining us, talking some football, talking some hoops. Yeah, what else you following, Coach? I guess we can do a little make some picks here for the conference championship games. We can do that before we go.
They
But
don't.
anything else you're following in the world of sports right now? I know you're not an NFL guy, so and NASCAR's over.
No.
So
No, I did see the bad hit on Trevor Lawrence, which was
yeah,
just inexcusable. And I love the snow game, because I don't have to be there and be in it. But that's some fun. And I guess Missouri had a little bit of a snow game too against Arkansas, which nobody was paying attention to their game, but it was still nice to see. But yeah, I just don't get into the NFL at all, and even just the highlights. I like the highlights.
we got some snow opportunities now that you mention it. This Friday, Coach Mac, Tulane at Army and UNLV at Boise. Maybe we get some snow in a couple of those games. But how about Tulane, a 6-point favorite over the Black Knights? Who wins the AAC championship?
Yeah, I like Tulane. I know Army's had a storybook kind of year, but can their focus honestly be on Tulane when they've got Navy coming up?
That is kind of a weird deal. This is not their biggest game of the year. That's coming up next week, and we were talking about this on the show, and it's been talked about by everybody. is there? It's got to be a TV deal with CBS, right? Like, why will they ever move the Army Navy game, or do you think it'll stay after the AAC championship?
They want that window all to themselves, and I
Yeah.
think they'll do whatever they have to do to keep it. And we've seen so many changes in college football, but we're not going to see Notre Dame in the league, and we're not going to see Army Navy up against another game.
And I guess now that they say, hey, well, who cares when it is? Army's playing for a conference championship. Like it does, you can still make the championship and have that game afterwards. Although, again, it is kind of odd. You're playing for a title, which is kind of the end of the road. Yet your biggest game is next week, so it is a bit of an awkward deal for Army. So,
And the craziest thing is that it's a league game. It's not a league game,
yeah,
even though they're in the same league. That's crazier.
didn't realize that until a couple weeks ago. A lot of respect for UNLV. They are just 4-point dogs against Boise State. And I started following the Rebels a couple years ago because former Pirate Damon Magazoo was a DB coach there. He is now here at East Carolina. Came last offseason back home to ECU. But they went, Coach Mack, from like 0 wins to losing every game by 1 point and having 2 wins to now a respectable team. So got to give the Rebs credit out there. But can they hang with Boise? This is everything's on the line here because the winner of this game goes to the playoff, right? Nobody else can leapfrog the winner of the Mountain West Championship.
Yeah, no, that's true. Winner take all, and what a good job Coach Odom's done out there after getting let go. At his previous stop, I think his name is going to be mentioned prominently as some of the bigger jobs open.
Who you taking?
I'm sorry.
Who you taking?
With the crazy weather and the crazy season, I'm taking the running Rebs.
Let's go Rebs. All right. Mac, as we said before the season started, you could put pretty much anybody in the Big 12 championship, and it kind of would have made sense. What a Iowa State, Arizona State. For those flipping on the TV that don't follow it, will have no clue what conference championship game this even is. They'll see Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is better associated with the Big 12 than these teams. Like it's just, but how can Arizona State stay hot and win this thing?
I think they can. They've got the only player in the game that I can name. So the running back that they got from Sacramento State. I think I think they do. I think they stay hot.
Georgia, Texas. If I don't even know how much seeding matters. I guess it does, but Mac, let's say Texas beats Georgia and Oregon loses, which you said they won't, but can Texas be the number 1 seed? Like if Oregon loses, who has the best crack? Would it be Penn State or could it be one of these other teams?
Yeah, I think it could be Texas. Although again, I don't know how many times they've beaten a team in the top 25 this year, but it isn't very many. But this is going to be interesting. Georgia has shown some real warts, but they're playing basically a home game. They handle business in Austin. You'd think they'd handle business again, but you get to following what makes sense in this football season. You're probably going to do it wrong.
Texas said, "Here, Texas A&M, you can have this game if you want it," and they said, "Nah, y'all can win it." That was Texas A&M couldn't move the ball at all and had a chance to win that game. But that's the thing with me. Like there are no great teams, and that's I'm not picking Oregon to win because I just don't see this season ending with an undefeated team. It just doesn't seem like the season for that to happen. But maybe that's just
that
me.
makes as much sense as anybody I've heard, Cliff, and that's hard for me to say.
I'll take that. You do like Oregon over Penn State, you said, mostly because
no. I like Penn State to lose.
Yeah, Oregon over Penn State.
No, I don't think Oregon's going to have anything to do with it.
So they could just be playing faceless, jerseyless, whatever, and you're taking whoever's playing against Penn State. Okay.
In a big game every time.
10-4, 10-4. Clemson, SMU. SMU, a favorite. I can't imagine many Pony fans being there in Charlotte on Saturday night, but SMU's still the favorite in this game.
I think they will show up. I think they'll have a bandwagon group that
Huh.
shows up, and they don't have a big stadium or anything, but they've got a lot of money, as we know, and their quarterback. He's not all that different than the South Carolina quarterback. He throws it more. He doesn't run quite as much, but when he runs, he's very similar. And Jennings is a guy that it might be one of the best players in the country that nobody knows about. And I think for the ACC's sake, I hope Clemson wins. But if I'm gonna pick somebody, I think SMU's going to take care of business.
Mac, good stuff. Cannot wait to see what happens this weekend, and then it will be decided. And next week we'll be talking about the bracket and the playoffs and everything they got wrong. So that'll be fun too.
And they're half the people are gonna be mad. We know that.
No doubt. And isn't it fun, Mac? Like you've been on both sides of it. Like now we just sit here and criticize people and say what they got wrong, and there's no fallback on us. We can just say whatever we want. It's a beautiful thing.
Like Jimbo Fisher says, this side of the mic is a whole lot easier than the other side of the mic.
All right, Mac, you're the man. What you calling this week? What games you got?
I've got the first women's conference game for Virginia versus Boston College, and then I go back to Blacksburg for 3 games, including the men's and women's doubleheader next week. Then back to UVA again, and then one more trip to Blacksburg before Christmas. So I'm even going to pick up a game. I'm not even going to go. I'm not working the game, but I'm going to go see undefeated Kentucky women at Carolina on Thursday night, just to see some old friends that left Virginia Tech for Kentucky.
Good deal. Awesome stuff, Coach Mac. Thank you for joining us, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Tell everybody, hey, go Pirates.